The Q&A last night, if you guys missed it, you missed some juicy gossip. Yes. All right, you want to take a seat in the front? Or are you gonna, which way you want to go? All right. We're gonna, you guys go ahead and squeeze in if you can have people sit on the ends. There you go. And we're going to go ahead and welcome to the stage your host for this panel. Please give a huge, thunderous round of applause for Miss Kid Cadet. Movie magic. All right, Spooky Empire, how are you guys feeling? Okay. This is a big movie. I need a bigger reaction from y'all. Here we go. Spooky Empire, how are you guys feeling? That is more like it. And I could not think of more perfect people to be here this weekend for Spooky Empire. We're going to bring them all out at once. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Killer Klowns from Outerspace panel! Welcome, welcome. Welcome, guys. Would you like to introduce yourselves individually for everybody?
Oh, we got it.
Hi, everybody. Hey, thanks for coming out. I'm Edward Kyoto. I'm Charlie Kyoto.
I'm Suzanne Snyder. Oh, no,
I'm Stephen Kyoto.
I'm Grant Kramer.
I thought I was Suzanne. Damn it. I'm Stephen.
I'm Suzanne.
Hi, everybody. Good, so glad to see you.
How are you guys doing? Good.
I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's somebody hiding behind your couch at the moment. I don't know if you. I'm not lying. There's somebody hiding behind your couch. Do you want to pop up, or are we staying down there? Oh,
I like that person.
That's Steven Stalker.
Yards.
She goes with him wherever he goes. She's always.
And that's one of our friends, Leanne Curtis from Critters 2.
Give it up for Leanne, everybody. She can hear you hiding behind the couch.
Thank you for that. Deadly silent when I walked in. I didn't walk in. Okay, I'm gonna go. These guys didn't show up for my panel, so I figured I'd have to come heckle them just a little bit. I'm so sorry, Suzanne. I don't know you. Don't hate me.
We love heckling.
I'm sorry.
We live by heckling.
Well, guys have fun.
She never really leaves. She's always here with Steven.
I'm like the Hotel California. You can check in and sorry.
Well, that's one way to start a panel. I mean, we're okay. So, how often do you guys all get the opportunity to do a panel together? I mean, we have writers, obviously directors, producers, and the two lead cast. How often do you guys get to work together?
More recently than ever before, we seem to be getting together more and more now at these conventions.
Yeah, and we, not often as we'd like, because we're all actually pretty good friends, so we love every chance we get, and we had a great time making the movie, so, and I think it's pretty exciting to all of us, the fact that we've watched this wonderful little movie kind of keep building over the years and become this kind of cult status movie that people would want to sit and listen to us talk after all this time, so.
Yeah, that's the amazing part. I mean, after 30 years, we're really just so excited to see so many people loving the film, loving the characters that are portrayed in the film. It's just really great. It's a real treat for us to meet and talk to you guys.
Yeah, to hear your stories about the first time you saw the movie, how you made best friends during that time, or also the multi-generational stories of grandparents and their kids and their grandkids all watching the movie. It's really.
I mean, one of the things that I've always found the coolest thing about this movie is how much, like, having gone through like several sets of kids in the family that have watched the movie, and like every one of them watched it like 100 times, and not because their uncle Grant or whatever was in it. They just loved the movie. You know what I mean? So that's really cool that it still has that kind of appeal, and that young people really like it too, because that was never really, I don't think that was the intention, you know, that it was going to be
We're
something
grateful
that like
for you that
a
after 7 years
seven-year-old.
that you come and see us.
Yes,
What started out as an idea that Stephen had, you know, with the most scary thing he could think of was driving down a dark road and a car driving up next to you, and you look next to you and you see a leering clown. You know, so a silly idea like that became something that's lasted for 3 generations, 30 years, and we can't believe actually that we're sitting here now speaking to you.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Can we get a big round of applause? Thank you.
That's right. By the way, the only person that actually did predict this was Suzanne.
Oh, your
she's the
agent.
one that said, what was it?
It was my agent when I read the script. My agent said, you gotta read the script and you have to do this movie. Because these 3 brothers are the most talented people in Hollywood. And this script is going to be a cult classic.
And you believed her.
We just hitched our wagon.
I
That's
know,
all.
for sure. It's going to be a cult classic.
Well, to jump off of that, before we get into the thick of it, I'm curious, Suzanne and Grant, what was your casting process like for this film?
It was kind of a lot. I remember we went back, I don't know, at least 4 or 5 or 6 times, and there was a lot of mixing and matching. There was like a chair set up like this, and there was, you know, kind of a Mike, Dave, and Debbie, and you know, there was probably, I don't know, started out with like 20 of us, and then they kept on getting smaller and smaller groups, and they'd bring us into the room, and they'd kind of mix and match us.
Well, we locked on Grant pretty quickly. It was pretty obvious he embodied what we wanted from Mike Tobacco, and the studio really liked him based on Hard Bodies and some of the other things that he'd done. So we locked in on him. So really it became, what are the dynamics between, you know, the different possible Debbies?
I mean, you could have told me that.
No, we wanted to
I
surprise
was like,
you 30 years later. And then we tried.
I lost like, you know, half my hair, like going.
And then we had 3 groups of people that we were honed in on that we kind of mixed with Suzanne, and I think we had another lead in there. And Dave was like, we were vacillating between the different days we wanted. But after that, once we did one group with all 3 different characters, we honed in on our prime cast here.
One thing of note, my character was actually modeled after the real friend they grew up with, named Mike Tobacco. So they had a very clear idea of who Mike Tobacco was going to be.
He was a Romeo. He really was. He was a smooth operator. You think that it's an original idea, but Mike Tobacco actually would take girls out, and he had an inflatable raft in the back of his car. He actually was the guy who had a full bar when he opened up his glove compartment. We didn't put that in the movie, but that was the real Mike Tobacco.
And actually, if you look closely on the raft, you'll notice in the movie there are patches on it. Because there's a real story that Mike Tobacco went in and his little rubber raft went on to Long Island Sound one
With the
night.
Terenzi brothers.
With the Terenzi brothers.
Terenzi brothers were their real buddies too.
Yeah,
So
and there was a little mishap in the Sound where the Coast Guard had to go out and get them. And when Mike's father found out, he took a knife to the raft and punctured it.
hopefully not with Mike on it.
So yeah, the film was populated with people we grew up with. Dave Hansen was our high school gym teacher. Mr. Myers, the druggist, was our real druggist. Joe Lombardo was my best friend. Pooh Bear was my dog at the time.
Yay, Pooh Bear.
All the sophisticated layering of storytelling that the Kyoto brothers incorporated in Killer Clown. Iconic.
Well, if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to throw it to the audience because I'm definitely curious about their questions. So we're going to have you guys line up right over by the wall, and we're going to ask if you could just keep it to one question so we can get through all of them. And do we have any willing volunteers? Come on, guys. Any questions you may have, now is your chance.
I know. If nobody has a question, we'll just take the mic back.
If you don't have questions, we'll throw questions to the audience.
Hi there.
Okay, we're just going to talk about our charity. I'm kidding.
I'm Anthony. I go by Wolfman. I also wear the husky head. So where did the ideas for like the cotton candy cocoon and like the popcorn Well, where'd all that stem from?
From the world of the circus. Well, yeah, actually, when we started the script, we really used the 1950s Blob movie as our template. And if you follow that movie, with the one with Steve McQueen, we used that as the spine of the story. But then we just started brainstorming amongst ourselves, how many circus gags and carnival motifs could we bring into the story?
Yeah,
and the idea being to turn them into candy-coated kills.
Yeah, so something like a cotton candy. Well, what would you do with cotton candy? Well, you'd wrap them up in it, and then what happens to you once you're in that cocoon of cotton candy? So it's just kind of literally organic from the circumstances of what a clown would do to you.
And it evolves because naturally you said, well, if they wanted to drink from the cocoon, would they use a straw or would they cut it open? But if they were using a straw, it would have to be a curly straw. So it evolved like that, just the silliness of it.
And one kind of the overreaching concept is that they're clowns, and clowns that permeate our entire society. And people, you know, you see a clown, oh, it's Happy Clown. They put their kids, they thrust their kids upon these clowns. So the idea is that you see a clown doing something funny, you're immediately going to be gravitate toward them and getting close. But then when you get to our clowns, when you get that close, you realize something is off, but then it's too late.
Awesome, thank you.
How you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. I'm actually a new fan. Watched the movie about a year ago. Loved it. Loved the creativity, everything. Now, did you guys have trouble when you were trying to start it or pitch it or look for investors, or when you were trying to, reach out to your friends for help getting the film? Did you guys have trouble trying to get an idea like that across when you saw the picture in your head, but no one else might have?
It's a simpler story than that.
It's really simple. We had a friend we were working with in Shelley Duvall's Fairy Tale Theater, producer Fred Fuchs, knew some people who had money to finance motion pictures, really direct-to-video type things in the 80s. So we had a treatment. I sculpted a maquette of a clown, and Charlie did a one-sheet poster. We walked in, pitched it to Moshe Diamant of Transworld Entertainment, and he said, I could sell that.
I like the title.
I like the title.
And
sold it in the room.
Sold it in the room. Our very first feature film pitch ever.
No problem. It just was easy as pie.
And here's a funny story. So a friend of mine was with Moshe Diamant just a couple days ago, and he called me up and he said, so I was with the creator of your film, Killer Klowns, the other day. And I said, with the Kyoto Brothers? He said, no, Moshe Diamant. He said that came from his original idea. And it was entirely his creation. And I was like, boy, that should be news to the actual creator.
I just found that out today.
And then that's the story of the creative process. The first movie was really simple. It's always an uphill battle. It's been 30 years battling to get the sequel done.
Yes, I mean that's like really an anomaly, but
It would be better if we hadn't already made a super popular, successful film.
And real quick before you go to the people behind me, sorry about that, but who decided to cast the sheriff? The sheriff in the movie, who was the same one as Animal House, correct? Who decided to that choice?
Yeah, I think it was a collection. I think we all agreed we wanted some kind of anarchistic kind of power-hungry cop. And then we were reminded of Dean Wormer from Animal House, and John did such a wonderful performance in that film. He said that's the character we wanted. So yeah, and he was really very gracious. He really liked the character. He liked the role.
Yeah, he got it, and he brought what he brings. He worked in the Clint Eastwood films. He was the villains and stuff. He knew exactly what we wanted.
Josie Wales.
Yeah, Stephen would give him direction, and he goes, I got you. And then he'd do something special.
He grounded in a reality in this absurd world that we were doing. He saw that character needed to play it totally straight and totally real, and he was just a really kind of a joy.
Yeah, we were really, really lucky to be able to work with him in one of his last movies because he was so wonderful and iconic.
He actually, when he was finished with it, he had such fun doing it. He goes, even though we killed him, he goes, well, can I come back, if you do a sequel on this? And because, it's Killer Klowns from Outer Space, we can do anything that we want.
Well, actually, during this filming, when we were doing the police station, when he gets killed, was his last night on set, and he said, Ed, he says, this Mooney character says it's really like Dean Wormer says. People are gonna like this character, and I think I should come back on the spaceship. I should be like a clown zombie in the spaceship.
We were joking just a little while ago that it's kind of funny that two of his iconic characters are both having reunions right next to each other in the same room. That if he would have been here, that he would have been able to be at both reunions at the same time, right? That would have been really cool.
Hi guys, my name is Robert and this is Vincent. And he's got a question for you
Yo,
guys.
Vinny!
Say hi.
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 Tell them.
How you do Spooky Empire?
Is how do you like Spooky Empire?
We think Spooky Empire is one of the best cons we've been to.
Yeah, we love Spooky Empire.
What do you think?
We love coming back and seeing old friends and making new friends.
Yes, and we love meeting fans of the movie and really nice young boys like you and getting to answer questions from you.
And what do you think about Spooky Empire?
Say he loves it. You love it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
How old are you?
3.
3. I have a little boy that's going to turn 3 next month.
Thank you.
Well, thank
You're welcome.
you. And don't be afraid of clowns, because you just shoot them in the nose.
Hi,
Shoot the nose, kill the clown.
I'm Johnny. So 2 questions. So Freddy and Jason, Alien Predator, Killer Clowns, and what?
Clowns have no rival.
Like mimes from outer space?
Mine. So I think Pennywise would be a great match.
To me, the ultimate movie is Killer Clowns versus Godzilla.
Yeah, Pennywise versus Dollar Foolish.
And then, so I'm sure, like, budget-wise and all that, you guys couldn't do, like, certain things back then. Were there any effects that you wanted to do but you couldn't do?
Well, originally, Clownzilla at the end of the film was supposed to be a stop motion effect because we love doing stop motion. But even in our own film, we couldn't afford it. The amount of time it takes to produce that, it would have been cost prohibitive.
And Clownzilla was supposed to be a marionette through that entire sequence.
Do you guys know that the actual, it's a very hidden secret that the actual actor that played Clownzilla is here at the convention with us? Did you guys know that?
No.
Do you guys know who played Clownzilla?
Leanne Curtis. No.
Charlie is Clownzilla.
I was Clownzilla, and the thing was, the first scene where it appears is on a 6-foot pedestal with little steps, and there were big clown shoes, and it was very precarious. You couldn't see through the mask, very uncomfortable. We were going to put somebody else in it, and I realized that somebody could fall down and seriously hurt themselves. So I said, you know what? I'll do it.
So we were gonna hurt anybody. We were gonna hurt
Yeah, or me. No, but and you know what my main concern was? If you fell on the face, that was the only Clownzilla head that we had with the mechanics, and we would have been done. So what I was going to make sure that if I fell, I would turn and break my back and say...
He was going to break his back, but save that Clownzilla mask.
How's it going, guys? I'm Tony.
Hey, Tony.
So my question is, do you think there's anything inherently creepy about clowns themselves, or have they become creepy after films and TV and movies have made them creepy?
Well, I think we tapped into, the general public's, insecurities and nerves about our anxieties about clowns. For me, clowns, from my first experience at the Madison Square Garden in New York, they come into your personal space and they do these really big things in front of you, and it kind of freaked me out as a child. So that's my anxiety of clowns. I'm not afraid of them as much as just, I don't want to be around them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a famous Lon Chaney quote, paraphrasing, there's nothing scarier than a clown after midnight.
Well, I was always interested, Grant and Suzanne, when you were told to, to be part of Killer Clowns from Outer Space, what were your feelings about clowns? Did you have anxieties about clowns?
I personally didn't. Clowns to me were just, big funny guys that showed up at birthday parties and made their noses squeak and pulled quarters out of your ear. So I didn't. I still don't. I still don't really have any sort of a thing about clowns, other than the fact that I think they make great core movie characters. But other than that, I don't have any real.
I have
anxiety.
an intense fear of Moshe Diamant. That's
One of our favorite pieces of fan
I wouldn't
mail.
want Clownzilla pissed off. I mean, let me tell you that.
So I grew up in the Midwest. So there was a serial killer that dressed up like clowns when I was a little girl. Yeah.
Yeah, Gacy.
Yeah.
It was Gacy?
Yeah. So, I wasn't really afraid of clowns, but I was afraid of clowns because of, hearing about Gacy.
So he may have spun
Yeah,
people's
yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, so definitely, and I was definitely afraid of the clowns in the movie. They scared me. They did scare me.
One of our favorite pieces of fan mail, a woman wrote to us. She says she has 2 fears, and her husband made her watch the movie. She was afraid of clowns and toilets, and her husband made her watch our movie where a clown, of course, comes out of a toilet.
Well, again, that was the sophisticated, storytelling of the Kyoto brothers. We were fans of Alfred Hitchcock, and we wanted to do for the toilet what Alfred Hitchcock did to the shower.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
That's what goes into it. I was sitting there thinking about clowns and our favorite movies. Hi, Nikki.
So I have kind of like a 2-part question. First off, in the scene where you go into the spaceship at the end and you're running from the clowns right after they've paused the deputy, was that all in one take or was that different sound sets? Like where you're running through the balloons and you're running through the doors and sliding down the poles?
Oh yeah. These guys were amazing.
That was amazing.
Yeah, they actually Well, I mean, if you see us when we're like running outside, that was actually at the boardwalk up in Santa Cruz. Like where they shot Lost Boys right before we got there and stuff. But we actually had a huge warehouse, and the brothers, along with a fantastic construction crew, basically built that. Everything you saw was built practically there
So
from
it was
the.
like similar to a giant fun house?
It's like
that
a
you guys
great
were running
big
through?
giant colorful fun house.
Absolutely. You mentioned a funhouse. It was really designed after Rye Beach Playland and amusement park we went to as kids, the Magic Carpet Ride, which was a big funhouse amusement park.
Yeah.
And because of our production budget, we made everything go into black limbo because we couldn't afford real wall sets of a spaceship. So it was more like a funhouse, a dark ride. So the elements were made modular.
Yeah, it solved that production problem. The interesting thing was the live action was done in the huge warehouse. The Clownzilla suit, we scaled everything down, including the truck and a little Dave Hant or a little Officer Dave doll, and we duplicated the set pieces and all the decorations in that 1/4 scale or something, and shot that. And because of the black limbo, you can't tell the difference. So it was beautifully put together.
And it was all a modular thing, like Lincoln Logs. There we had giant tubes and blocks that we put them in so we could reassemble them pretty quickly into different looks. And if you notice, as you get deeper and deeper into the tent, these elements start to go away, the more black it is. So just the deeper it is, it got more surreal.
Well, that's interesting because we had these ideas and a very small budget, and I didn't know how we were going to build the sets. If you have to build each set separately according to the storyboards, my art director Philip Foreman suggested, and it was brilliant, to build a kit of parts like Lego or something like that. And he says if you put it upright and put the tubes through it, you have one set. If you lay it on its back and put them vertical, you have another set. And that saved our ass, basically.
Yeah, and the balloons were real balloons.
And then I just had one other tiny question because I've always wondered this, it's weird. How, in the beginning, when they're in the spaceship at first, does he know what to punch in on the little red balls to make the door open? He seems to just pick the right combo. Or did he just get lucky?
Okay.
It's like tobacco.
You guys are going to have to wait till the sequel to find that out. That's going to be all revealed.
He just magically hits the right combo and it opens.
Well, it is a
With
clown
beginner's
space.
luck.
They are clowns. I guess it didn't really matter what you pushed.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe if we pushed any other combo, it would have opened too.
No, those are fun. Thank you.
Sure.
Hello.
Hey there.
Hey.
So there's so many iconic things about this film and everything. My big question is the music is one of the most like kind of underrated iconic things about this film. So how did you guys go about choosing like the band like the Dickies to do the song and everything for this film?
Yeah, the Dickies. I wish we could take more credit for it. Our music, our music supervisor dug the movie, and we were looking for somebody to do a theme song, and he had a connection with Enigma Records, who the Dickies were signed with at the time, and he went to Stan Lee and Leonard Phillips, and kind of just pitched them the idea, the concept of the movie, and they came back with a demo of the song as it is. We had zero input into it. They got it. And so our music supervisor saw a similarity that they could do it. And when we heard it, they nailed it. We loved it. It was really interesting because it kind of brought in a different audience to the movie that would have, I think, normally have seen it.
Yeah. And as far as the soundtrack itself, John Massari was chosen from a list of really talented people. And what I enjoyed about John's work, most of the other composers gave it too much of a circus clown motif, and it was kind of comical, and we wanted to kind of play the comedy against some real serious music. So John had a more serious take to the score, and he did put in a couple of motifs, some carnival or circus motifs in there, but it was pretty consistently a serious score.
Yeah, John came from the great film conductors and composers like the John Williams School and stuff like that, and it was always very grand. Given the budget and the budgetary constraints, he did an 80s synth score, but in his mind, little did we realize that he was actually composing for a 76-piece orchestra in his head, which is now what he's completed. We went to a session because he's re-recording the entire Killer Klowns soundtrack with a 75-piece orchestra, or 76, I don't know, they put another piccolo in there, I don't know. But, it's coming out soon. We're actually having a major event in LA, May 19th. We're actually having a screening of Killer Klowns with a 76-piece accompanying orchestra. And it's pretty amazing when we hear the grand score that went with our little movie. It's amazing.
Is there any chance that musical might go on?
If it's well received, it's going to be at the Montalban Theater in Los Angeles, May 19th. If it does well, there's the hope that it can be taken on the road. I mean, but there's going to be a CD, a vinyl issue of it, of the album. So I'm not sure where it is right now, but if you set up a Facebook page, there will be one shortly for the event, and he's hoping to live stream it, so people who can't make it to Los Angeles will be able to, at least get a taste of it.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
the Dickies are going to be there too, right? Are the Dickies going to be there too? Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, the Dickies are going to be there doing the theme song as well. Yeah.
Oh, and they're really thrilled because they're going to be playing with the orchestra. They're going to be playing their theme song to the movie right there live, and
Yeah.
they're really excited about it.
And that's kind of the kickoff of the 30th anniversary as well, because it's around the time that the movie actually truly released, and Grant and Suzanne will be there. We're trying to get John Allen Nelson to show up. He's never done a convention appearance about the movie, so we're trying to get him to see.
If anybody knows where he is, let him know.
All right, thank you.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
One quick comment. I love clever solutions to budgetary problems in films. That's one reason I like watching low budget movies. And I noticed the cop car gets into 2 accidents where you never see it bent.
Go ahead, Steven.
So I'm assuming that was done for budgetary reasons?
Hey, there's so many stories about how cheap the production was. Yeah, when he smacked into the back of the ice cream truck.
Yeah.
Just a lot of steam.
Steam. It was
And
water.
the newspaper rack outside the police station is all off camera.
Yeah, well, specifically about banging into the newspaper vending machine there. I wanted to smash it. I wanted to knock it into the wall. And I was told by our first AD, we couldn't afford that. So what the hell? So it was such a big, big disappointment. All the big things I wanted
We couldn't
to do.
afford the newspaper machine, let alone fixing it.
No. But when I did, for the shadow gag, I wanted a bus. I wanted a bus to come in and kind of wipe the frame and then have a clown appear. And I thought, this is going to be a big fight. And I said, give me a bus, please. And they gave me the bus.
The bus was easier.
No, they were very sensitive budget, and we had the special effects team put they sprayed the cotton candy, the pink cotton candy web. We mixed this pink cotton candy and sprayed it into a rented.
No, it wasn't even rented. It was the greatest cost-saving measure. It was a product placement. A local dealership gave us a vehicle to use for free.
In the thing. So
and we sprayed it with this cotton candy web material.
And our special effects guys guaranteed, well, we'll spray it with vegetable oil, Pam, and nothing will happen. So we filmed the scene, and everything was fine. Then we tried to clean the car. The material melted into the vinyl.
It was a solvent-based material.
So we wound up costing $3,000.
Yeah, we had to bring it to
looked at the
another.
thing, it said
had to bring the car
dissolvable
to
with
another
Pam.
dealer to repair it. It cost us $3,000. So the free car cost us $3,000.
Oh yeah, I guess we've heard from people that the most expensive prop in the film was the popcorn gun.
Yeah, that's probably true.
It is true. The way we went about making the film was Charlie would do some drawings, and our crew would then meticulously match in fabrication the construction of the gun. So it cost a lot of money to hand make every single one of those elements. Plus it had a pneumatic, an air ram inside it, so it actually fired. So it cost about $9-10 grand.
It almost cost us more than that, because the guy who built it, when he was testing the ram, he pulled the trigger. And he didn't fasten the thing properly. The ram shot out backwards and hit him in the stomach. He was a portly, man. I think he survived, but it could have been really, really bad. He could have broken ribs or worse. Now with Philip Foreman, when I showed him that, I said, he worked on it 7 weeks, and we paid materials and stuff. I said it wound up costing us, close to $7 grand. And Philip said, well, I could have gone and got some super soakers, and we could have made something that looked like that. And you could have done it for under $100. So that's the lesson I learned, because we can do killer clown weapons very cheaply. You don't need $100 million budget.
Yeah. So take a look at the popcorn machine in the cocoon room when you do it. When you look at it, it's a giant plexi dome. It's got funnels for the levers with sponge balls on top of it, and plates, and that we got from the Pick and Save, essentially the dollar store.
That's the way to make a low-budget movie.
I was just wondering, who will win in the fight, Critters or the Killer Clowns?
What do you guys think?
Killer Clowns.
I think Killer Clowns would. They're just nasty. They'll come up with one gag or another and kind of just whip those little guys.
And they'll laugh about it. They have the cotton candy.
They've got the cotton candy guns, right? Yeah, those things are pretty brutal.
And then the popcorn, the popcorn gets shot on them, it sticks to the fur, and then if the critters decide to eat the popcorn, well, they'll have a nasty surprise.
Thank you.
So I had a question about the ending. Earlier we saw the security guard was covered with a pie. The acid works through two lungs. So at the end of the movie, when we have the three together, they get showered with that. Do they survive?
What are you, a wise guy?
It's funny, that was not the original ending of the movie. In the original ending, Dave the cop actually dies. And during some test screenings, our executive producer came to us and said, guys, this is kind of a fun movie, and people really like Dave the cop, so I think it's not that type of movie, so Dave should come back. So we wanted to dig our heels in creatively and do it, but we agreed, so we did the change. But that was kind of our little FU back to them, that in the conceit of the movie, the acid pies are deadly. So yeah, they got hit with pies. We wanted to go out on a kind of a fun joke.
Yeah, Yeah, it's and I guess, you know, those films like The Blob, they would have a question mark at the end of the film, like, you know, what happens, will the adventure continue? And that was kind of our question mark. But the hardest part of that scene was actually getting Grant, Suzanne, and John to do it. I don't think we wrote the pies hitting you in the script that you were given, because I remember when you showed up, I think Suzanne said, "What are you going to do with those pies?" I think you realized that you were going to get hit with pies. We didn't think you'd show up.
And then the outtake, John Allen Nelson goes, "Man, that hurt!" Oh, it did, didn't it?
It did. It hurt. It was unpleasant.
And you think about it, you know, getting hit with the pie.
Yeah.
Subi Sales used to do it, who originally we wanted to be the security guard. They didn't want to, you know, spring for it. He got hit with whipped cream, basically. We put filling in it, and you add filling and pie crust thrown at you, even from 5 feet away. That's weight. That's like getting hit with a water balloon with 3 pounds of water in it.
Wasn't that bad.
So then, Suzanne, do you end up with Mike, or do you end up with Dave? Because you're kind of involved in that love triangle there.
Well, you're gonna have to wait for the
sequel.
Yes, good point. We do have plans for what we call a requel, which is a cross between a remake and a sequel.
Yeah, for the trilogy in 4 parts.
And we follow the continuing adventures of what happened to our leads in the movie as they went through their lives.
Yeah, it's been 30 years and we haven't had part 2, so we're just going to skip to part 3. And then somewhere along the line, we'll bring back part 2 as the lost episode.
Hi guys. You keep talking about the sequel. Is it true that we might have already seen the Clowns in maybe recycled for another movie? Ernest Scared Stupid, perhaps?
Well, you know what? The Disney, who was doing who came to us, liked Killer Clowns. I liked the design. They thought it would be a good fit with John Cherry. John Cherry, the director, had done designs, and they were very clown-like. I have a style that I incorporated, you know, I used on the Clowns. So it's just my style. So I took John Cherry's and I did the same kind of shapes to make it fit, you know, a guy in a costume. John's were broader, the heads were much larger, not feasible for a suit. So I modified them a little bit. So there is resemblance in terms of stylistically, but we didn't use really any of the clown. They were all, the molds were all destroyed.
Yeah. So actually, the rumor that goes on the internet, they're similar because of Charlie's design, and he was hands-on on that movie. But sadly, all the clown molds were destroyed after the production.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so one of the questions that I had, so at the end of the movie with the female clowns, like, did they like really hook up, like, with Rich and Paul? Like, is that a thing for reals, or what?
They did. If you look at the guys, they
I know
were kind of
like kisses, but
they were raped. They were ravaged. Their clothing is all ripped. They have kisses all over them. I think they were violated.
They're going to start a clown Me Too movement.
No, the outtake, the original ending, the Terenzi brothers didn't come in the clown car. They come racing out of the darkness, shredded, screaming like this, with the clown lips all over them, and the police turned their guns towards them, and Mike ran out and said, "No, don't shoot them, they're the Terenzi brothers." But we opted for the new ending with the clown car, and they survived because they hid in there with the ice cream, which makes perfect sense in the clown universe.
And that could be the 4th part of the trilogy, following the Terenzi brothers' adventure with their children, their clown hybrid alien children.
The question we're struggling with: did they impregnate the clowns, or did the clowns impregnate them?
Or was it vice versa?
And if the Terenzi brothers bore clown offspring, because they're clowns, that's why.
So before we take a big spooky selfie, I was wondering if you guys had a personally favorite clown of yours.
I like Clownzilla.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, to me, just the concept, you know, the clown that gets Mooney. I think that just as it's kind of just a terrifying sequence. I think it's the scariest.
Oh, for me, it was the shadow gag clown. It's my favorite scene, and I just thought it's just a hoot to see the guy going like this with his hands and have these magical shadows. I just loved him and the scene.
Me, it's easy. What are you gonna do? Knock my block off?
Mine too.
Timing.
My favorite scene is the shadow scene. Watching the fingers, because they don't have as many fingers.
It's incredible.
There's an impossible shadow. Like we were thinking of, what would be the most impossible shadow. We actually were trying to recreate Da Vinci's Last Supper. But I don't know if we could have done that. So Washington Crossing the Delaware. What were some of the other ones? Some impossible shadows. We're looking at,
The dinosaur.
The hula girl.
The hula girl was good.
Yeah. Clownzilla, I like Clownzilla because it was a perfect cross between a dinosaur and a clown. Those are my two favorite things.
Awesome. Well, anything that you guys want to mention or plug before we have to wrap this up?
Oh, what do we have?
Do you have a charity that you want to?
No, I can't think of anything. No, I can't.
We're just really, really glad that you guys came out to
Thank
see
you
us.
so
and
much.
Really appreciate you all.
So at this time, what I need you guys to do, if you can stand up, we're going to face that way. And if you guys can stand up as well, we're going to